Hello everyone and welcome to Bards and Books. I'm Usman and today we are doing a review for the Hybrid Helix series. This will be for the first three books, Wistful Ascending, Return of the Griffin, and Blood Reunion by author J.C.M. Byrne. Now J.C.M. Byrne also has a YouTube channel which you can check out, I will link it below. And that's actually how I stumbled upon this series. He had one of his videos where he discussed, well, he actually goes into a lot of detail regarding the series and the choices that he made and why he made them. So I stumbled upon one of his videos where he spoke of the protagonist being a brown guy and why he chose to go with that ethnicity, East Indian ethnicity. So, me being a brown guy, I thought it was a little interesting. I decided to check it out. Found J.C.M. Byrne to be a very likable guy, very transparent with his choices, and I wanted to support the author. So I read these books and I really loved them. But I will start by saying this. Upon finishing book one, Wistful Ascending, which was fantastic, I have to say, not once did I even recall that our protagonist was a brown guy. I mean, a few times it's mentioned in the book, so that kind of reminded me, but that was probably the least important or the least memorable thing for me, was the character's ethnicity, which was pretty interesting, and for me just shows that, that's probably the least important aspect of a story. Things like ethnicity and gender and all these kind of very polarizing topics, not so much of an important thing for me. A good story is a good story. Those other aspects don't really matter as much as long as you can tell a compelling story and you can resonate with a character no matter what their ethnicity or gender or any of that is. But anyways, that's a very polarizing topic. I'm not going to discuss that any further. That's just how it was for me. There's obviously other issues and things you can discuss in that regard. I'm not going to go into that. So what this series is basically a superhero / sci-fi romp, and I'm going to talk about what J.C.M. Byrne does here that makes this so unique and makes it work so well. So personally, I'm not huge onto sci-fi. I've read a few things, I like it, but a lot of sci-fi that I read just doesn't click with me. This was not the case here. I enjoyed this a lot. And I think the reason for that is because a lot of sci-fi, for me at least, it's hard for me to enjoy it in a way where it doesn't come off as, too complex or too highbrow with the way that some authors write it, because when you think of sci-fi, you do think of complexity, you do think of academia, you have like physics, biology, chemistry, math, all these very academic subjects, which for a guy like me who probably isn't the brightest guy around, it can be hard to grasp, or it can be hard to just resonate with in a compelling way, or in a digestible way, I guess. I mean, it's called science fiction for a reason, right? But what J.C.M. Byrne does here to make it work so well is that, well, first of all, he presents it in a way where it's not so highbrow and technical and all that stuff, which is really nice. But the other thing is, this first book, Wistful Ascending, it's basically like a slice of life story. So we follow Rohan, our protagonist. He's living a quiet life, he's trying to just shed his dark and brutal past. And that's what makes it work so well. The fact that you have this complex genre with a lot of technical elements which are presented very well, but also with this simple slice of life story. And that combined with each other just really makes this digestible and entertaining, for me at least. So I hope that kind of made sense there. The other thing Byrne does here is just make this a very, very compelling, well-researched sci-fi universe with a very interesting story as well. Byrne provides such a unique, fun, original way of doing superheroes, and that is mainly due to our protagonist here. Rohan is just an incredibly likable guy, and at the core of his personality, he's just very, very childlike in a lot of ways. He's got a great sense of humor, very witty humor. I mean, he's the kind of guy that always reverts to humor. It is pretty funny, and he's very reminiscent of Goku from Dragon Ball Z. For me, at least, that's my favorite anime of all time, and I really got some Goku vibes here from Rohan. The other aspects worth mentioning of this series are definitely the array of cool races we get here. Lots of different races throughout this universe. Lots of different languages too. I think like one of the languages in this series is among the best I've ever seen in terms of the concept. And then, like I said, Rohan, our main character, who just trying to shake off all the bad things that he's been forced into and had to do, and just lead a quiet life, a simple life. And then something happens, and shit just hits the fan, and he's thrown into all these scenarios that he just didn't want to get back into, and it's really interesting watching him deal with it, because the other thing that's really cool about this series, about Rohan, I mean, is his personality, because this race they're brought up in a way to be very single-minded and just follow orders and not think too much about what they're doing. I mean, they're one of the most powerful races in the universe, and they're basically just like these soldiers that are just trained to carry out missions and not think about what they're doing. But the thing about Rohan, what makes him unique, is he's basically the only one that is very clever and actually thinks, uses his brain, and just makes people really weary of him. I mean, he's already part of this dangerous civilization, but he is the only one that actually has intelligence to go with that. So it makes him quite a formidable opponent for a lot of people. It's really interesting watching him deal with these scenarios and think things through, and seeing everything just unravel before him, and seeing him be forced into these situations is very, very gripping. So that basically deals with the bulk of the first book, Wistful Ascending. I gave that book 5 stars. It was an amazing opening entry into the Hybrid Helix series, and we just get the complete rundown of Rohan's personality and a little bit of what he's done, his past. We get glimpses behind the person he used to be and the person he is now. And so now we come to Return of the Griffin, book 2 in the Hybrid Helix series. And if I'm being honest, I was expecting something a little different, but that was just me personally. I did have some issues with it, but I'll get into that in a bit. Basically what we have in this book, and I'm sure this would probably be a favorite for a lot of people. It wasn't so for me, but here we go back to Earth, Rohan's country of origin. And this is where a lot of the superhero elements come in, because Earth has a vast array of superheroes and even some gods, which is really cool. But they basically protect the planet. So the superhero concepts here are very reminiscent of like Marvel and DC, but it's really cool because it's actually a satire in that regard. So it's very amusing. It's nothing, that we've seen a million times. And we basically see a large chunk of Rohan's past, come back to him. We see the kind of hero he was on Earth. And this is where the story kind of went in the route that I just completely did not expect. And this is just a personal thing. So the book is titled Return of the Griffin. And from everything we get from the first book, we realize that when Rohan was known as the Griffin, that's part of his past. The Griffin was basically known as a terrifying force. He did a lot of horrible things, feared by a lot of people. What I was expecting is that we see a lot of that, but this story didn't go in that route. We got Rohan while he was on Earth, which I guess wasn't anywhere near as dark as when he flies around the rest of the universe and really builds his Griffin name. But overall, what I'm saying is it wasn't anywhere as dark as I was expecting, which was a little bit of a disappointment, but that was just a personal thing. In no way am I going to allow that to reflect my review and my rating of this book in any ways. So I tried to be as unbiased as I could there. I didn't, that was totally a me thing, not something you can blame on the author of the story or anything like that. So aside from that, what made this book a 4-star book for me, it got a tad bit tedious near the middle there. We were dealing with a lot of repetitive issues. It wasn't too repetitive, but I did find myself just wanting to kind of hurry along and get to the more meaningful parts of the story. Yeah, like I said, it got a tad bit tedious. We were dealing with the same kind of issue multiple times, and it was just a tiny bit frustrating for me. So that's why it's a 4-star book for me, but that's just a small section in the middle, and towards the end, we got a really interesting revelation where we kind of see like this this ancient race is kind of brought to light, and it really sets things up for the next book in the series. So that was really cool. I was really excited for that. And now we get to the next book, Blood Reunion, book 3 in the Hybrid Helix. This was my favorite by far. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, these ancient civilizations, this history of the universe, and a lot of the deep dive into the lore is really brought to the forefront here. And it's just extremely captivating. I mean, Byrne does a great job in developing this history and these races and these cultures and all that stuff. And this is where things took a little bit of the darker turn that I was waiting for, in the fact that Rohan kind of deals with a lot of elements from his past once again. And some terrifying things are kind of brought to light. Some dark and mysterious secrets of history are revealed slowly, and Rohan absolutely faces his toughest challenge by far. I'm not going to spoil anything else. Like, you really need to read the series. If you're into superheroes at all, sci-fi, and intelligent characters, you need to read the series. So that's all I'm going to say about book 3. I give it 5 stars. Easy 5 stars. It was so good. And I honestly cannot wait for the next installment of the Hybrid Helix. So that's it for me. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I hope I was at least a little cohesive. I mean, I felt like I was just not really making a lot of sense, but, you know, overall, I love this series. That's basically all you need to know. It's very captivating. You should definitely check it out. J.C.M. Byrne is a master in this kind of field, in superheroes and sci-fi. He just does it in a marvelous way. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you so much for checking out this review and spending your time with me. If you like the video, you can hit like. If you want to subscribe to the channel, I'll definitely be doing a lot more reviews in the future. I'll be reading more of the Hybrid Helix when it comes out, and I will dip my toes into sci-fi a lot more probably now, now that I'm enjoying it this much. Definitely be checking out more indie authors, more self-published work. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you again so much, and I will see you all next time.